3 o'clock. Welcome to this special meeting of the Temple City Council for Thursday, February 13th, 2020. It's currently 3 p.m. Please rise for the invocation, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Judy Morales, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Stephanie Hedrick.
Join me as we pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you with a humble hearts and with gratitude for your Son, Jesus, and for all the blessings that you give us each day. We ask that you be with us today, guide us through this discussion for our City Council. Allow us to have the right decisions that will be right for our community and that will be a blessing for all. We ask that you protect all those who are in military, who are police officers, our first responders, our mayor, our council, our city staff, and all people who are involved that are working hard to make our city the best we can be. Lord, we ask that you touch the hearts of the men and women who come before us. We ask that you give us peace in the hearts of all our people so that we can come closer to you. We ask this all in your precious Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you both. As no one has signed up today for public comments, we'll move straight into the agenda. And the first item on the agenda today is to consider adopting a resolution calling a bond election for May 2nd, 2020, making provisions for conducting the election and resolving any other matters related to such election.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Lori, is that the first slide? Okay, just title slide, just making sure. Okay, sorry. So I just have a very brief presentation and follow up to our work session on Tuesday regarding this item for the potential to call a Parks Bond election for this upcoming May. So as Council will recall, the adopted business plan, I'm sorry for the text there. The adopted business plan had a placeholder for a potential Parks Bond in the amount of $33 million. The business plan didn't include any specific projects related to that bond because we were underway with the adoption or with the creation, the update of our Parks Master Plan. So just as a little bit of a reminder of the background and timeline related to this, in 2014, we last did a Parks Master Plan. The City Council adopted that plan in December of 2014. In February of 2015, the City Council called a bond election to help fund the projects that were proposed within the master plan. Throughout the course of the last 5 years, city staff has been working to implement the projects that were funded through the successful passing of the bond election. In 2019, we began the process of updating our Parks Master Plan. That plan was completed in December and adopted by you in December of 2019. And so here we are today with the action item for considering calling a Parks Bond election to provide funding to implement the projects that have been identified through the new Parks Master Plan. The Parks Bond is anticipated to include the following: approximately 100 acres of new park space, 9 miles of new trails, and improvements to approximately 20 existing parks. Those improvements could include things like playgrounds, trails and exercise stations, shade sails, benches, seating, pavilions, picnic shelters, restrooms, dog parks, basketball courts, skate parks, as well as parking infrastructure and landscaping within those parks. The estimated monthly tax impact of the $33 million bond would be $3.33 per $100,000 of taxable valuation. The City of Temple has adopted a age 65 plus Homestead Exemption. So our citizens who are eligible for that program will see no tax impact if the bond is passed. If the bond is passed, or if you call the Parks bond election, the election day will be May 2nd. There will be voting locations in each of our 4 districts. District 1 voting location is proposed as the Mayborn Center, District 2 as Wilson Rec Center, District 3 as Thornton Elementary, and District 4 as Tarver Elementary School. Early voting would take place April 20th through 24th from 8 to 5 p.m. and April 27th and 28th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Early voting would occur at the Fred Poteet Building, which is the old visitor center building that's in the parking lot just west of City Hall, of the municipal building. So your action item today is for the consideration of calling the Parks bond election. We do have our bond counsel here who is happy to answer questions regarding the resolutions. Carol Palumbo is the bond counsel. Carol, do you have any statements that you want to make, or I'm sure she'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Went over this as a group a couple of days ago. Does anybody have anything that they want to discuss today, or anything to add on to our discussion from Tuesday? Okay. All right, very good. Then since there is no discussion, then I'll accept a motion and a second on this item. Madam Secretary?
I move we call a bond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Park bond.
Moving right on. I know.
Get a motion before you call.
That's how I do it here. I'm sorry.
I move we call the Parks bond election on May 2nd, 2020.
I second that motion.
Now we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
We might, do we need to clarify the amount that you're calling?
Oh, okay.
To $33 million.
Thank you.
I second that motion for that amount.
We have another motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker. Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Pro Tem Morales. Mayor Davis.
Apologize for that. Item 4 is consider adopting a resolution to A, order the general election for Councilmember District 2 and Councilmember District 3 for May 2nd, 2020. And item B, authorizing a joint election agreements with the Temple Health and Bioscience Economic Development District, Temple College, and Temple Independent School District for May 2nd, 2020.
Mayor and Council, this item would have you approve a resolution that would call the general election. So you've just called a bond election. The general election for District 2 and 3 would also occur on May 2nd. Early voting would be at the same times and locations as the Parks bond election, and election day voting would be at the locations in the districts. So it'd be Wilson Rec Center for District 2 and what's District 3? Thornton Elementary for District 3. The second part of that is authorizing us to enter into an agreement for the City of Temple to provide administration services for the Temple Health and Bioscience District, Temple College, and TISD. They're holding elections on the same day.
Very good. Council, any discussion on that? All right, there being none, then I will entertain a motion on item 4.
Make a motion for approval for item 4.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on item number 4. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams. Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Aye. Item 5 is the first and final reading and subject to a public hearing for the consideration and possible action with respect to the 8th supplemental ordinance to the master ordinance establishing the City of Temple, Texas Utility System Revenue Financing Program, which ordinance authorizes the issuance of one or more series of new and refunding bonds payable from the revenues of the city's water and wastewater utility system, and the establishment of procedures for selling and delivering those bonds.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I need to get a presentation pulled up here quickly. This item, just to Next slide, please. In summary, what it will do for utility system revenue bonds is delegating the authority for the issuance of one, new bonds that will support capital improvements to the water and wastewater system. And just to note, the source of payment for these bonds are revenues from the water and wastewater utility system. You authorized rates that were approved or implemented on October 3rd of 2019 to support operation and maintenance of the system, plus capital improvements through debt service. And secondly, this ordinance would delegate authority for refunding bonds, and refunding bonds are essentially refinancing outstanding bonds for interest savings. Also, this ordinance establishes the procedures for selling and delivering the bonds. Next slide, please. Just to highlight a few of the capital improvements included in the new money or new bonds. The total amount for not to exceed is $86 million. The over half of the bond issue is for the expansion of our water treatment plant and the existing facility at the water treatment plant. That amount is $44.4 million. And also included, you have the list before you, but the Knob Creek Interceptor improvements, Phase 1 of $6.7 million. Bird Creek Phase 4, $5.5 million. Williamson Creek Interceptor improvements of $5.1 million. And other improvements at our water treatment for the lagoon improvements. And I won't go through the whole list, but you have it before you. Next slide, just to go over some of the parameters included in the delegation ordinance. For the new money, this delegates the authority to issue to the Director of Finance or City Manager. The not-to-exceed par amount is $86 million, and the maximum maturity date not to exceed 25 years from the date of the issuance. And our plan is to issue 20-year bonds, but we do have the up to 25 years included in the ordinance. Next slide, please. For the refunding, again, it delegates the authority to Director of Finance or the City Manager. The not-to-exceed amount par is $12.5 million. Currently, we have one outstanding issue that meets the criteria for refunding. The net present value cannot be less than 3% when calculating the refunding or savings on the refunding. Again, the maximum maturity not to exceed 25 years from the date of issuance of the refunding bonds. And we also included in the ordinance is to issue taxable and or tax-exempt refunding bonds. Just to go over some more details of the ordinance and correct anything I might have said wrong, Carol Palumbo with our bond counsel is here. Carol?
Good evening, Carol Palumbo, Multiple Partners. I'm here with Mueller, serving as bond counsel for the city. The only thing I would add, I think Tracy had a great summary there. The only thing I would add is that the delegation authority is good for one or more series up to a year. So if we move forward with the new money, we still have a year left to come back with a separate series for the refunding purposes. But once the year expires, then that approval expires, then we would have to come back to city council for any action. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Curiosity, question, the eighth supplemental ordinance is the delegation of
Yes. And just to explain the structure. Okay, just to explain the structure real quickly. Long ago, we set up a master ordinance. It has all the basic provisions related to this type of credit generally, so that every time the city wanted to issue debt, we didn't have to repeat those same provisions and could streamline each supplemental ordinance. And so we've now reached the 8th supplemental. So.
Thank you.
One last thing I will note too is our goal is, our plan is to go to the market for selling these bonds in May. And once they're sold, we'll come back to, in a work session and go over the details of the sale.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, Ms. Palumbo. Council, any thoughts or questions on this? All right, this item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Okay, so there being no one wishing to speak, then I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve item 5.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Long?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. Thank you all for attending this meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.